I was actually in the wedding industry for 10 years. I was a wedding photographer, as well as I had a luxury stationery company I had both for almost 10 years. And we grew a little wedding empire to a seven-figure business. I mean, we thought we were on top of the world at that
Wow.
point, and we lost it all in 9 months. And it was a very, very wildly crazy season for both personal and professional.
Welcome to Mindset Mastery Podcast, where we explore the intersections of motherhood and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Julissa Edwards, and in each episode, we're diving into mindset, emotional regulation, and the real stories of mom entrepreneurs navigating both business and family life. Let's get into it. Hello. Today I have the absolute pleasure of interviewing Jessi Cabanin. She is the founder, educator, and creative director of This Way to Fabulous Incorporated. This Way to Fabulous is a boutique creative branding agency based in the Chicago suburbs, but working with entrepreneurs around the world on foundational brand building, strategic design, photography, videography, websites that convert, and impactful marketing strategies. When I tell you, me and Jessi, this was our first time meeting on the show. I love my podcast for introducing me to amazing mompreneurs just like her. She absolutely is killing it. I love her vibe. I love her messaging. We are so similar in so many ways, even though we do two different things. There is a couple of overlap. It was just a great conversation overall. She is a master when it comes to branding. And yeah, I am just so excited for you guys to tune into this conversation. If you're looking for inspiration on how to just start the damn thing and put one foot in front of the other, this is a great episode for that. If you want tips and tricks on beginning your branding journey within your entrepreneurship, branding of self, whatever you're trying to cultivate a message around, this is a great episode for that. And so, yeah, without further ado, enjoy. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Jessi, hi, how are you? And thank you for being here.
Fabulous, pun intended. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to kind of just dive into the juice.
Yeah. So I think I'm gonna like kind of be sporadic here. I think when people think about opening a business, which is usually where most of my listeners are at, they have curiosity, they have intentions to begin a brand, begin a business. Um, I don't know, their mind can go everywhere in terms of like what's most important, a website, an email list, like what comes first kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you're all things branding, which I love. What's your bias, which is fine, interpretation of what is most important when creating a business?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting because at this phase that I'm in right now, we are actually kind of on the tail end of transitioning from a marketing agency into a branding agency. And the thesis behind that transition is my passion to educate people on what what building a brand actually entails. And one of our core missions for the following year is going to be your brand is not your logo. It is one of the biggest misconceptions that people think like, okay, I'm going to build a brand. I need a logo. And it's like the last thing that you need
Yeah.
is a logo.
Yeah.
So, the most important thing to think about when you are curious, and you're kind of in the beginning stages is to really sit with your thoughts and your ideas for a long enough time that you can ask questions. Because if you cannot answer, for a little backstory, for people who come in to work with us, they actually have to fill out a 5-question questionnaire that is essentially a who, what, when, where, why. And you would be shocked how many people cannot answer those
And
questions.
answer.
And you know what, that's kind of like the opener of whether or not we allow clients to come into our
Okay.
business with us or not. And if they can't answer those questions, we have a brand discovery process, an experience that they can choose to opt into if they do want to work with us. I've spent too much time in my career doing the thing because I thought I was supposed to be doing the thing, right? People give you money and you're like, Yeah, I'll do the thing, right? And after 2 years of being a marketing agency and working with
Mm,
a large number of clients who are throwing money at the wrong problems,
mm,
that doesn't sit well with me for the long term. You do it
yeah.
because you got to make your money, but at the end of the day, I didn't feel good about the work that I was doing because I was fixing the wrong problems and I knew it. And people
Mm,
don't want to hear that what they're doing right now is wrong, and that's a very tough conversation to have with someone. But the reality is that I was doing those clients a disservice by helping them with their social media when they don't actually know who their target audience is. That it's a wild game. But so when you're starting to build a brand, you really need to be able to answer the 5 questions of who, what, when, where, why. And you can kind of make up your own questions. I mean, we do have our process that has specific questions, but realistically, you should be able to come up with 1 or 2 questions in each category and be able to answer them.
mm,
And it's a super secret power move that you can do is to ask 2 more questions for every
okay.
answer that you come up with. Because the number one thing that I see is that people do not go deep enough
Deep
because
enough.
they don't
Yeah.
want to. It's hard.
Wow. Okay. I'm loving this. I have to pause you because I have so many questions.
Sure,
Okay.
let's do it.
So this is so good because, it's so my background is in mental health and
Yep.
all the things that you're saying, like my brain, I'm a really good connector and like an overlapper. I'm like, I learned this here. It's the same thing over here. Like, and mental
Yeah.
health has a lot of the same kind of like outlines. And so when I hear you say who, what, when, where, and why, and then ask more detailed of a questions, this is a side note, but I promise I'm going to get back to the main point. Gratitude,
Squirrel.
like this is the way that
So
my
many
brain
squirrels.
functions. Gratitude, I always say, is one of the most underutilized tools for your mental health. Dipping into that gratitude vibration, just having more of an abundant outlook on life, all the things when things get tough, you want to know what's going well in life. And when I ask people, and especially in my past, when I used to have a lot of clients that struggle with depression, anxiety, things like that, to state what they're grateful for can be really, really hard, like really hard. And so then I would always challenge them of like, okay, you gave me one thing fantastic. Can you give me details about that one thing? Right. So it's like, oh, I'm grateful for a home. And it's like, okay, great. Why? Oh, because it has running water. All of my children's memories are made here. I have a warm bed to sit at night. Like all the things that we could be, digging deeper, which I'm sure you're doing with your branding agency. So I have a question of your transition. So when you
Yeah.
said that you were doing a marketing agency first, was that your business or were you working for somebody else?
No, that was mine. I've actually
Okay.
never went the corporate route. I started
Good
my
for
first
you.
business right out of college and never looked back.
Wow, good for you. That's amazing. Okay, so in the marketing agency, and I also love your transparency because I think I know, you can tell me if you agree, as business owners, it is a self-explorative process. We're here for the right intentions, right? Hopefully, most of us, that we want to help people, all the things in service-based industries, but you're also a human being who's evolving and growing and changing, and you're also gaining data on your ideal client and the field. And so I love the transparency of how you were noticing this bad trend of like, yeah, we're solving the wrong problem here. So
Mhm.
tell me more about what you were doing in the marketing agency and how that now differs completely in the branding agency.
Yeah, for sure. So just to give a little further background, I was actually in the wedding industry for 10 years. I was a wedding photographer, as well as I had a luxury stationery company I had both for almost 10 years. And we grew a little wedding empire to a 7-figure business. I mean, we thought we were on top of the world at that
Wow.
point, and we lost it all in 9 months. And it was a very, very wildly crazy season for both personal and professional. But
Mhm.
after
You
all of
say,
that, I wanted to kind of take everything that I was doing and build something that was, for lack of a better term, a one-stop shop. I really truly hate that term because society kind of makes that like if it's everything, it's maybe it's mediocre. And my vision for it was being able to where it started was you go to the doctor, or you need to go to the doctor for whatever, and you call to make an appointment, and you have to tell the person on the phone your life story in order for them to book you an appointment. And then you go to the appointment and they ask you more questions when you're signing in. And then you go to triage, and then the first person that comes in to take your vitals is asking you for your life story. Maybe another doctor, maybe the assistant comes in, they're asking you your life story. The doctor comes in and he is still asking you your life story. Like, why do I have to tell 5 people the entire thing 100 times? Why can't there be a system where I tell someone my life story and it trickles into the people it wants to go to? And so my ideology of, the marketing agency was building a place for women to build relationships with female entrepreneurs and being able to be that person who they only have to tell their story to once, and I can, put them in the places that they need. And I built a team to be able to do all of the things. We had a copywriter, we had a social media manager, we had an SEO expert, we had, obviously I do the branding and the websites. I'm also a photographer and a videographer. So I do brand photo and video. It was a place it was kind of like trying to redefine the one-stop shop thing. And it was phenomenal at first, but the key term that killed us, I think, was the marketing agency term. And it was bringing in the wrong people. It was bringing in people who just wanted a solution. Like they wanted the end result. They didn't want to be a part of the journey. And I think that was a big eye opener for me, because I did a lot of work internally after I lost everything. I got divorced at the same time that I was losing everything. And, I had to do a lot of work to get myself mentally out of that. And, I had done all that work and all these people were just not interested in the journey. And I knew firsthand that the juice was in the journey. The juice, like it wasn't the final, it wasn't the final answer that was like the best part. It was all of the things that you learned along the way. And so now what the transition looks like is we have 3 sectors now, and that's it. So we do brand development and web design. So we have like the brand and the web. The second sector is the visuals. So that's our photo and video sector. And then our third sector is education. So we are totally building out a massive education sector, because I just feel so strongly about wanting to make sure that, you can read anything on the internet and you can go to another page and it'll say the total opposite thing, right? We live in a world where information is too accessible. It's too easy to access. It's too easy to put information out there. And so I just really wanted to create some type of container where, I can control the narrative in that room and I can help them quiet the noise and control their own narrative. So we started doing workshops and networking events locally to bring people together and to help them actually do the work. I have been to many events in my life, and I have been to plenty of good ones and plenty of ones that I wouldn't go to again. But the key did not, or like the difference was action. And so everything that we do in our education sector, there is a worksheet, there is a topic, there is action being taken in that moment. Not like, here's a lesson, here's a workbook, see you later. Like, no, here's part 1 of the lesson. Now put your head down. We're going to set a timer and do the work. Like, it is too easy to talk and not do. And I am just a huge advocate for like kind of being the pain in the butt that like pushes you to do it.
Yeah. So funny. So like, as I was like, again, I'm going to relate it back to therapy because this is where my brain is going this morning. When I used to help clients, back when I used to work more of a traditional role as a therapist, seeing like 40 clients a week, I would see that so many of my clients, yes, we give them homework, and therapy nowadays, you give people homework, especially if you're doing this type of model, and nobody would ever do it. Maybe like 30% of the clients would do it, right? And what we saw was that you have to do it in the session with them. One, to learn what are their, brain fogs, what's stopping them from actualization of like what the assignment is supposed to give them, right? And then
the world's too noisy. Everything's too noisy. Once you're out of that space, squirrel, shiny object, like literally all the things.
Yeah. So amazing. So I also want to give you just so much credit because it sounds like you in the past you had created a beast of a company, and like it sounded amazing, and I'm really sure it was. I know it was. And duality. It's like and we decided to pivot yet again. And that's okay. That's more than okay, because you're more aligned now and you're more clear now, which
Mm-hmm.
I know when I talk to a lot of beginner entrepreneurs, they have so much like analysis paralysis, like, should I do this? Should I do that? Without even taking the first step forward. And
Mm-hmm.
so you're a prime example of doing that time and time again through adversities, through hardships in your personal and professional life. So what's a good advice, or what is your take on just like doing the messy action or putting one step forward? How do you get yourself to do those things?
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing that helped me in that darkest time of my life was doing the work internally. I think that we all look externally so quickly for the answer. We're all looking for the answer. We all think that there is one answer. And I think the biggest shift that I had in that entire thing was realizing that there wasn't one. And you know, like, I think it's really, really powerful that there's lots of answers, you know, like there's lots of opportunities, there's lots of forks in the road, you know, like I think once I started to realize that, you know, obviously losing a 7-figure company in less than a year was a hard pill to swallow. And, you know, in that time I had just had my son, my husband decided to walk away from our marriage. And, you know, it was just kind of a dwelling moment of like, what happened to me? What happened? Like, why did all this happen to me? And starting to recognize that these things happened for me. And that, you know, the universe was basically telling me that you are meant for more. You are not meant to sit in this space any longer. You are meant to stretch and grow and make a difference doing something else. And I think that once I started chasing the joy in the journey versus focusing on this answer, this magical unicorn answer that was going to fix all of my problems and make me so happy and all those things. Once I stopped chasing that item and started really sitting with the journey, I think that's what shifted everything for me, because it's not, and I was a collegiate athlete, you know, I'm a competitive person, and in sports
But this is
there
why
is
we're
winning.
vibing so hard.
Sports there is winning and there is losing. Okay,
Yes.
that is the society that I grew up in. Being an athlete, everything was either you win or you lose, and you know, I got to the point where now I lost, right, like a big loss,
Yeah.
multiple losses all at one
Yeah.
time. And instead of, you know, sitting with that forever, don't worry, I sat with that for a couple of years before I really finally, you know, kind of came out of that dark hole. But like, once you start to realize that those losses are actually lessons and they're actually things that are preparing you for something else that's going to happen later, the mindset shift in general is everything. You know, you start to look at things that don't go well as, okay, what did I learn from that? And as soon as I, you know, literally as soon as I started saying, okay, that sucked, but what did I learn from that? Like, what can I take from that so that next time that either doesn't happen again, or I know I'm better equipped how to handle that or how to evolve from that. And I think that the mindset shift, pun intended, right? The
Yeah.
mindset shift is absolutely the biggest aspect of that. If people can start to fear failure less,
Yes.
they'll go much farther, much faster.
Hey mamas, real quick, are you trying to juggle motherhood and that burning desire to launch your business? Well, I've got something just for you. I'm hosting a free webinar that dives deep into how you can master motherhood and entrepreneurship. Yes, you can do both. I'll be sharing the same actionable steps that I've used to help countless moms launch their businesses while staying grounded and connected to their families. If you've been feeling the pull to start that business and you don't know where to begin, or you're struggling to balance it all, this webinar is for you. In this webinar, we'll unpack those mindset blocks, get you calm, confident, and ready to thrive as a mom and a business owner. Head to the show notes to save your seat. It's totally free. You don't want to miss this. Let's do this together, mama. Join the webinar. The link is in our show notes.
I'm
Right.
more afraid of success than I am of failure. I am at a point
Really?
where that's a whole nother Pandora's box. But, you know,
We're used to
I
solving problems.
yeah, and I mean, like,
Yeah.
you know, before I grew that wedding empire, you know, the success metric was a number. There was a specific number, right? You like hit 7 figures and you are
Yeah. Made
successful,
it.
right? And
Yeah.
we got there, and you still
Mhm.
want more, and there's still not, it's still not the end of the road. That's when we really started to
You
realize that there
know,
wasn't an end.
there was never an
There was
end.
never an end. There's never going to be an end. It's more about focusing on the evolution along the way than it is about making sure you get to the specific checkpoint. I want to know
Yeah.
what I see between this checkpoint and the next one versus and what I feel. Right? It's not even about like now success to me is much more of a feeling than it is a like specific metric.
Yes. Wow. Okay, I have to backtrack because I have like four points
I know. I can
that you
like
mentioned.
woo.
No, but it's good. It's so good. So I'm like, I knew we were vibing for a reason. Yeah, my past was all athleticism too, and like I'm a fucking go hard. Like I'm so much of
Mm-hmm.
a go hard. I had to heal, had to just chill out for a bit because I would do too many things at once.
Yep.
And that all came, which I love from my sports background. Like I love anyway. So we share that commonality. So I want to the failure of or the learning process of you not knowing what was working and now combining something completely different out of your learnings. And so it reminded me like this is like a kind of, it's not a joke, but it's going to be a funny reflection of my past at the beginning of my entrepreneurship. And you're a branding expert, so maybe you'll laugh at this, but before I knew what I was doing, all I knew was that mindset via fitness was what has gotten me to where I am in life today. That kind of go-heartedness of like, yes, you win, you lose. Like I went through a hard phase of like, why are we telling kids that everybody's a winner? Not everyone's a fucking winner. We all have to lose sometimes. Like that mindset is crap, And so this is before I had kids, but I still believe that. And so I called one of my first programs. I went through so many in the beginning of my career. It was to help entrepreneurs, but to also stay active throughout their entrepreneurial journey. So I called it Gym something something something, and the gym standard for Get Your Money.
Oh, I
But
like
it
that.
was
That's fun.
Yes, but I will say in the beginning of my journey, I didn't know how to brand appropriately or have brand awareness, I should probably say. And so when everyone signed up, they thought they were getting a gym program like fitness, and it was really all about entrepreneurship. So I had a lot of discovery calls. I was like, wait, no, I'm not a fitness expert. Wait, no, I'm trying to help you with your business, but that taught me to have clear, titles for the
Hmm.
names of your programs, right? So all a learning lesson. And so
And you would have never learned that lesson had you not tried.
had I
Had you
not
not,
tried?
put your chips in and taken the risk and done the damn thing, right? All
Yeah,
these people waiting to do the damn thing are missing out because they're
yeah,
not collecting any of the data or the lessons.
absolutely. Yeah. And even though it was a title flop, I still enrolled people. It was still a successful, run of a program. So yeah, I had another thought too. Oh yes, the whole thing about like your the success of like it'll be great when you hit 7 figures and yada yada. Like that goes for so many different numbers. Like, oh, it'll be great when you have 20K cash flow months, when you have, whatever is your intended goal.
Yeah.
And those are all cool things. They're great things, but what you're saying and what I'm also resonating with, it's the journey of the experience, right? Of getting to X goal. And in the academia world, when I went from therapist to coaching, that was like a big like no. Like therapists hate coaches for the most part. Like they don't think that they're valid and that's another conversation. But what I will say is, in the academia world where I came from, I was a professor at my adjunct at my university. All of that psychology is my world. Um, we usually base it off of like the letters behind your name. How many degrees do you have? Oh, when I get my PhD, then I'll feel that I really know this topic. And I love school. There's nothing wrong with wanting to get more education or more degrees, but the same thing of success, you don't need those things to be happy or successful right now. And your vulnerable share of that you had a 7 figure company, and there was the same time that it was falling, and then your marriage was coming to an end, and you just had a baby. I was like, whoa, triple whammy right there. And
Quadruple Rami, really, because my son actually got attacked by a dog, our dog, the day before his first birthday. Um, so it was like a
oh my
quadruple whammy,
God.
all in that time. Yeah,
Yeah, and
all the things.
That's a lot. That's a lot. And I can tell that you did the work because normally a follow-up question would be, what did you learn from it? But you already had that answer within your storytelling, which is fantastic. And so yeah, yeah, just a true showcasing of mindset. Your mindset is so powerful. And yes, like while this is really effing shitty right now, this is here to teach me something. And what you decided to do was to go inward of like,
Yeah.
okay, what do I have to do? What do I have to clean up in order for me to understand what all these pieces are? So, can you shine a little bit more light on what that inner work process was like for you? Did you go to therapy? Did you do coaching? What did you do?
Yeah, an array of things, right? You start to point your fingers and you start to, do all the things externally,
Wow.
until, you really start to narrow down, all the things that aren't working is because you're looking externally, right? You're not, it's so much easier. And we live in an Amazon Prime world. We live in a world where things are just so fucking easy. It
Facts.
is so much more fulfilling to do the hard thing. And don't get
Mhm.
me wrong, I'm not saying that doing the hard thing is easy, because it's not. It's fucking hard. But you'll get to a point where you just have to. So after I had my son, I had an incredible pregnancy. Like no problems. I actually have spinal issues, as residual from being a collegiate athlete.
Wow.
And when I was pregnant, he was actually pushing my spine back the way it should be. And so I had like a pain-free pregnancy. It was fantastic. Had the most epically horrible delivery. And it was a lot. I had really bad postpartum depression after that. Probably for about 5 months. I don't think I really went into therapy for that until probably like 3 months postpartum. Um, and that in
Still pretty
itself was,
soon. That's still pretty soon. A lot of mamas don't do that so early. Yeah.
and yeah, I come from a very medical family. I am like the odd duckling that doesn't do anything medical. Um, but if something wasn't right, and I just kind of had to follow that. And I started there, right? And then, as my son was probably 9 months old or so, was really when the company like was really down spiraling. And it all happened very quickly in hindsight, maybe because I had a newborn baby. But it all happened really quickly. And then right before his birthday, with all of that, we were actually in counseling, marital counseling, to just try to like get communication back, trying to figure out what was going on with me, because it was very much a like, I felt like I was in a position where I was the crazy one, right? Like all the things that I was thinking and feeling, I was crazy. I was the one who was, not thinking right and whatever. And so that kind of, I was doing the multiple kinds of therapies there. And then it was actually at a therapy session that we were at the week after my son's attack. And it was a week after that, for kind of going through that trauma, because it did all happen in front of me. I still have nightmares to this day about it. And it was in
Wow.
that meeting that my husband literally at the time just was like, I'm done, and walked out. And so it was like a moment where I felt resentment towards therapy. I almost felt like therapy did
Didn't
this to
work.
us. Like therapy
Mm.
did this to me. Therapy did this to us.
Mm.
I started pointing fingers again. And it was
Mm.
after that I really started to kind of
Mm.
realize, that I needed to follow my own gut and my own intuition. Without getting into it, a lot of the things that I was thinking and feeling, were true. And I wasn't crazy. I was just, the truth didn't want to be told,
Mhm. Mhm.
and I feel like I had a kind of bone to pick with therapy, right? I was kind of like feeling like I don't want to go that route. And so I started just kind of diving into personal development podcasts. I'm not a huge reader. I'm much more of like a visual And like I'm also a multitasker. I'm like a serial multitasker. So like if I'm reading a book, I can't be doing anything else. But if I'm listening to it in the car or on
Yeah.
a
You'll be
walk or,
cleaning.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I started to kind of find that balance of like, okay, I'm going to go out for a walk because I know I need to get outside and just kind of move, but I'm also going to listen to this. And it kind of got addicting, it kind of got addicting to just kind of hearing other people's stories, and realizing how much we have in common, and
Mhm.
seeing that there's a light towards the end of the tunnel, not at the end of the tunnel, like not like there's not this
Yes.
destination, but there is like a wider window if you start to
Illumination
go
is
this way,
like,
like things will
yeah,
be illuminated. And
yeah.
and so I mean, I did end up going back to therapy, so I'm not I'm not
No, I
anti-therapy
love all the
anymore. But I
honesty. Yeah.
do I hindsight's 2020, right?
Yeah.
We can think about what happened. Like I can think about all the things that happen now, and because hindsight is 2020, I can now, respect and take all of the things that happened in there, and give them credit to where I am today. I know that I would not be in the position I'm in right now if I hadn't gone through those things. I wouldn't have had those tools in my tool belt in order to do the things that I'm doing now, in order to have the
Mhm.
perspective that I have now, because truly branding happens within. You have to know yourself and you have to know
Yes.
your audience. But if you don't know yourself, your audience is never going to know you either. And if you
Right.
can't figure out who you are, you're likely not going to be able to figure out who they are. And those
Yeah.
are the two, like maybe the top two most important things about building a brand is knowing who you are, what you
Yeah.
offer, and knowing
Yeah.
who they are and what they need and what they want.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's not necessarily like I went to therapy and got better.
No,
It
it was
was
all the things.
definitely
It
an
was a
inward.
culmination. Yeah, of many things. Wow. I
Yeah.
love what you just said at the end too. So it reminded me, this to go like maybe 10, 15 minutes back, this feeling of success. I teach a lot about like manifestation. I'm a huge nerd. I love metaphysics. I love, intersecting spirituality, science, all the things. And yeah, success is a feeling. It's not an actual thing. And what people don't recognize is that you can have that feeling of success right now, and that will only breed more success, right? And so, what you were saying with this whole, just now in the conversation about, oh my God, brain fart. Mom brain is so real.
Mom brain's so hard. Hashtag.
Wait, no, hold on. I'm gonna get it back. It was about this. What did you just say before I said the manifestation thing?
Oh, I was just talking about how important it is in branding to know
Oh,
yourself
your
in
story.
order to know everybody else.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah. So before you were talking about how like you learned all your growth and your insights and also some failures within the first company to now bring forward to the second company. And with me, I'm just like I've just done like so many different coaching programs in my evolution of coaching and mental health and all the things. And for a long time, I had kept mamas with mental health issues or things that they wanted to work on in one category and business owners in the other one. And what I kept recognizing, similar to your branding, like aha moment, is like, no, 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 no. You need the mental health and mindset work to become a better business owner. You need it, right? And so many of my mamas that did the mental health program of mine wanted to open up a business. And then I would have to be like, okay, you got to do this program first. And because then your mental health will be kind of stabilized. And then you can do this one. It was like, wait a second, why don't we just put these two things together? And yeah, that was my most recent aha moment, which I'm super excited about. And it's so in alignment with what you're saying, because yes, you need to know yourself. You need to know all of the inner workings, all that debris, that those prior, hardships, which is a blessing in disguise. We learned so much about ourselves during those times. Yes, it makes you more clear on who you are and even more of a magnet and more clear to who you want to attract into your business. Yeah,
Once you figure that out too about yourself, you don't have to do the work to
yeah,
bring those people in. Like the idea of building a brand and building a strategic marketing plan, is all about being the magnet, being the authentic, which authentic's a whole nother taboo word nowadays,
yeah.
because it's very hard to be authentic in the AI world. But you know you want to be attracting that without
Yeah.
having to work for it. So many
Mhm.
people are struggling with their social media because they think that they have to do XYZ in order to attract ABC. And the reality is, like they shouldn't have to do the work to attract them. People, I have never had more clients that were so on par and so right than I do now, because after all of that, I started to really just be an open book. I really started to be a transparent, that like life isn't perfect, business isn't perfect, things can change every day. You know, and I focus more on like the evolution aspect. You know, pivoting is another word that has become a very taboo subject post pandemic. And, you know, it's less about pivoting to something else and more about evolving into something else, because pivoting to me suggests that you have to leave what you're doing and go do something else. Whereas evolving to me is where I can take this one piece that is not serving me and I can leave it here on the side of the road, but I can take the rest and I can see what I'm going to pick up next. You know, like I can keep going on that road. And so, you know, I'm a heavy believer in evolving versus pivoting, because I think pivoting really gives people this like extra stress of like, holy shit, I have to start over. And starting over is hard. Starting over is so hard. And
but you're never really starting over.
True.
You know, yeah,
true.
Yeah. You're bringing all of your past self with you, just with a, you know, an upgraded identity, if you may. Yeah. I like that. Yeah, I think the word pivot, when I picture it, I'm a very visual person as well, and I picture like a hard left. And it's like, no, yeah, you're just evolving. You're going to a little bit to the left and you're bringing all the pieces with you, right? Like you did with your businesses or anything else in life that you had to do, right? Even me, like I've been sharing on my podcast in real time an act of being vulnerable of like, what does this look like for me? Closing down my two main coaching programs and combining them into one, and like being so excited and also fearful and also like, what the hell am I doing? Did I ruin a good thing? Like, you know, but I know it's right for me. So I have a question actually on like the branding thing. So I think I know I'm a pretty open and vulnerable person. And I think that my brand identity has reflected that over the years. I've been a coach for 5 years now, and I've been on Instagram for 5 years, sharing my life story and all the things. And this might be a metric thing, which is maybe not, doesn't matter, but I want to get your insight on it. So my thing is that my page has never surpassed like 2,500 followers. But we've built a successful 6-figure company off of those numbers. And there's a lot of like, we look at metrics, like my team and I, and there's like ups and downs. And I think as I keep refining my messaging, I switch programs, we lose some, we gain some. And so I've always been in that kind of low, like 2.5K and under following. And if anything else, like if I wanted to fix it, it would be that. I'm like, why isn't my messaging reaching more people? But I know that my messages are heartfelt, authentic, vulnerable. So yeah, what's your take on that?
Excuse me. What's the actual question?
I guess is the numbers.
No, this is classic, but this is what I ask people when they bring this conversation to me: is what is the actual question?
I kind of answered it for myself, and I'm a terrible student when I do that. My question was, does the numbers matter? But my heart also tells me it's like, you've had success without it, so why does it matter?
So that's why I asked that question, because almost everybody realizes that they know the answer. They know that even though they're asking the answer, you're looking for external validation, right? You're looking for someone else to tell you that you aren't crazy, or that, and that's, we're human. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
But my take on social media is like a whole nother conversation for another day. But to kind of, bring that down, the important thing to remember about social media followings and the metric that actually matters is your conversion. If you had 10,000 followers and you were converting 10, that conversion number is a lot lower than if you have 2,500 people who actually care about your message. And now you convert people, maybe you convert 1,000 of them. Your conversion rate is off the charts at that point. Like people are
Yeah.
so, and the reason I love this topic is because this is a major reason why we did this shift. People are so concerned about the vanity and the
Numbers.
number and being able to say that they have 10,000 followers. And, everybody was coming to us and, throwing their money and saying, I got to get to 10K. I got to get to 20K. Why does that number matter to you so much? Why do you feel like that number defines your success? Because
Yeah.
once I stopped caring about social media, I'm on a social media break for the most part right now. I'm still in my stories and stuff, but like I am not strategically curating content on my Instagram because I recognized that it was putting me in a non-healthy place, right? It was putting me
Yeah.
in a position mentally where I was so fucking focused on what everybody else thought, how many people were liking it, how many people were sharing it, was it getting me followers? But the reality is, as a business owner, are you making money? Like, are you making money to keep your doors open, and are you making an impact? And
Yeah.
I have been off of social media now, I think since like maybe April or so, before the blocks, because I was kind of like, I can't focus on this right now. I need to focus on, what's coming up. And I have never had more people in my inbox and the more right people. And I literally on October 1st closed my doors for the rest of the year because I
Wow.
recognized that I was now attracting the right people, but internally, both personally and professionally, I needed to kind of clean things up. I needed to dust things off. I want to start the year
Yeah.
with more of a clear mindset. I want to start the year with like finishing our transition to a branding agency, and
Yeah.
that's talking about the non-sexy stuff. That's like the automations, your email signature, your
Yes.
like some of that
Yes. I'm
stupid
doing
shit that you
all
think
that
you can put off and
now.
you can put off, and you can, but you get to a point where you can't anymore, and that list just keeps growing. And
Yeah.
I literally, we just shifted our in-person marketing workshops to virtual. And we hosted this virtual summit, and it took a lot of work for me to kind of, transition it into a different format. But when it was over, I stepped back and I was like, I have sat in this chair for the last 2 weeks. I have eaten whatever in front of me. I haven't been outside. I haven't been to the gym. I have been so focused on making sure that like this is perfect. And I recognize that cycle, and I recognize that like
Mhm.
this is not sustainable. I'm a person, I believe in hustle seasons. I don't
Yeah.
believe in the hustle culture. I think that there's hustle seasons, and I think that there's times where we need to work a little bit harder for something
Yeah.
that we're launching, but it
Yeah.
better be followed by a rest season. And,
Yeah.
I really started to recognize that cycle and was like, this was the middle or end of September. And I literally told my summit on the last day, I made the decision on the whim in front of those people and was literally like, I haven't shared this publicly, but I've been thinking about it, and you guys have just solidified, like, I'm closing my doors for the rest of the year. I am not taking on new clients, new projects, I'm not taking this on because I want to focus on the relationships that I'm currently building. I want to focus on the client experience. I want to focus on the things that I can control right now. I don't want to be out there hustling for new people and building more chaos. I used to say that I thrived in chaos, that I am a serial multitasker who for many years was like,
Yeah.
yeah, bring it on. Like I
Yeah.
thrive
Yeah.
in
I can
chaos.
handle
And
it.
I'll tell you
Yes.
what, after having kids, I do not thrive in chaos. I do not thrive in chaos. No longer. No longer.
I know.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
remember what the original question was now.
That's okay, but I'm just, yeah, we're vibing and it's all making, yeah, I mean, I resonate wholeheartedly. I too, I'm a really, what's so funny in my healing of being a busy bee hustler. I'm from New York originally. Like I would take so much pride in like being a hustler and having 5 jobs. Literally, I've always had 3 jobs. Like since I was like 16 years old, and that was like a really prideful thing for me. And then when I got older, especially entrepreneurship showed me like, wait a second, you can slow down and still have grand impact and still also make good money. And it's like, this is all possible, but the healing journey is so necessary.
Hmm.
And I think, social media has its trends and the world has its waves. And for a long time, then I went completely the other side of the pendulum when it was like, all rest, all flow, no hustle, and we're still making money. And that was also kind of, I don't want to say it was toxic, but I was healing so much that I kind of had to go there for a little bit, right? And then now where I'm at, fifth year, I consider myself like me to me. I'm like, okay, I'm really proud of me. This has been 5 years. I've learned so much about myself, about my business, about the business world, all of that. And I love it. I'm a nerd for data. Like, I love all these things. And so, back to the whole hustling conversation, I agree with you. I think there are moments for periods of passion work. There are moments where I get so obsessed with what I'm doing and I have clear vision and alignment. I'm like, let's just use this energy while it's here. And when I feel that I'm tapping out, yeah, let's rest. And for me personally, I'm also on a social media break. My family moved from one state to another this summer, and we had a whole series of like unfortunate events that happened over the summers. It was just a lot. I got two kiddos, they're 3 and 2. Me and my husband both work from home. Like, it's beautiful, it's chaotic, it's a hot mess. We love it. It's a lot of things. And my old pattern of surviving definitely came to the forefront these past 2 months. Not even recognizing, because that's what healing is. You just go into a pattern until you finally awaken and you're like, holy shit, what's going on? And yeah, I was just going, that I was like, I need to get off social media. I need to just, my brain is always trying to do three things at once, like one thing at a time. And it has been so good for me. So yeah, I'm just vibing with you, girly. I so resonate with all that you're saying. And if I could talk to you more, I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, we could talk for probably another 30 minutes, but I need to.
This is the toxic trait I have, is that I could just talk to people for like ever.
Well, it's a great trait to have. So I'm gonna start wrapping up with asking, at this point of the episode, what are some things in your life currently right now that maybe you need some guidance on? You just want to get off your chest, and if I can provide insight, I will, and if not, I'll just hold space for you.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really navigating that hard decision of closing the calendar for the rest of the year. It's a terrifying decision to make, financially, especially, but it's something that I feel like I'm at peace with, because I recognize that in order to do the things that I want to do on a deeper level, I have to take this time to really focus on those things. And we're creating a mastermind right now, that is going to be a container specifically for change makers, people who want to make an impact, people who want to measure their success more on the impact that they're making. And actually, I got a voice memo yesterday from a client of mine who I've known her since high school. She's been a multiple client of mine, but she is now running for a political position in her community. And she asked me to come onto her campaign with her to help her with her
Oh, that's so
branding and her website,
exciting.
and to help her really craft her
Mm,
visual and voice,
yeah,
like, to put
yeah.
out there. And she left me this memo last night that was basically saying like, oh my God, Jessi, somebody called me and they were like, or somebody texted me and they said, call me. And I'm like, I hate when that happens. just call me. Don't text me to call you. And she said, she was dying to know who is taking the lead on my communications and my marketing, because everything that they're seeing is so on point, is so me,
Yay!
is so like me to the core, that they're just like, holy crap, like, you are so far ahead of other people running in this campaign, because you recognize that
Mhm.
people need to connect with you and people need to know who you are authentically. And she's like, Jessi, I like, high five to this, like, people are. And I
Mm,
cried because I realized that what I'm doing now and the clients I'm working with now, the impact that I'm making is not just on that client's life. That impact is a ripple effect. That impact is now going to impact the entire community that she is, running to be a part of. And that to me feels successful. That ripple effect of making an impact, matters so much more to me than any dollar amount that could ever be in my bank account. I don't, well, we love to be a millionaire, sure. Like, who wouldn't love to just like randomly have $1 million in their bank account? But truly, I want to know that later on in life, I look back and say, I was able to change something. I was able to be a part of a change in a community, in an industry, in society, in whatever. That feels more successful to me. So, all the good vibes of just like me staying on the good vibe of making this decision, because it is a very hard one, and it's very hard to say no. And as I have clients coming, like new people trying to come in, it is very hard not to say, yeah, squeeze you in. Yeah, squeeze you in, like it's very
Yeah.
hard to say no. It's very,
Yeah.
I'm aiming not so recovering people pleaser, but it's hard to say no. So, all the vibes of continuing on that strong path.
Just a duality. We're very similar, so I would imagine, you correct me if I'm wrong, when you make a decision like this, um, it's hard to let yourself feel both things, right? Because it's like, this is hard. I'm saying no to money, but then your higher self, the one that has been doing this for so long, you'll be fine. Like, but for me, I call those two things like my spiritual self, my like higher self versus my egoic human self, which both are really important. I always tell people we're souls living the human experience. We can't just be the higher self. Like, we're also fucking human, And so I think for me, when I go through hardships like that, of like, I know I'm choosing, I literally did something similar, which maybe I'll share later, but when I know I'm choosing something for the betterment of my mental health, like just a better move, more aligned move, but that means saying no to something else, and like the fear of like missing out, the fear of more opportunities, the fear of just going because that's what I'm used to doing. Um, for me, it's been really helpful to just address the fearful girl that lives within inside of me, instead of just covering it up with, but I know I'm going to be fine. Like, my higher self knows that, like, this is a good decision for me. And it's like, that is true. We do know that. And she's also scared. Right. And it's like, it's okay to honor her. It's not going to bring more of it out. It's actually quite the opposite. Like, when a baby is crying, you console them. It's not going to make them cry more. It'll help them regulate and be more of an adjusted human being, hopefully when they get older, right? And so, same thing here. Maybe you're already doing it, but just a friendly reminder that if you are feeling the fear, that's fine. Just address it, hold space for her, and then you can have talks of like how it's all going to be grand. But don't just go to that point immediately, because she needs you to affirm that, like, this is hard for us to say no.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I think that's just a great ending of like, we have to validate ourselves. We can't look outward for that validation all the time. And I think that's probably one of the hardest lessons, hardest pills to swallow, as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a human. The bigger the pill, the harder it is to swallow, but the more benefits that it reaps in the long game. And, a long game, I think that's a huge misconception. With people think that being an entrepreneur is going to be easy. They're very short-minded. And I think that the best thing people can do before they jump in is to really kind of train themselves to think more about the long game. Because like you said, this decision is absolutely supporting the long game. It may not be supporting the short game right now, but it supports the long game. And I've always been a more forward, long game thinking person. So I love that.
Beautiful. Well, Jesse, this has been phenomenal. Honestly, I'm just so blessed. I literally, like, this was another shift in my podcast of like, I'm just going to interview moms, and it has been effing amazing. So thank you for this conversation, girly. How can people find you, work with you? What is the easiest way they can do so? Knowing that it'll be after the new year, but it'll be so worth it.
I was going to say, okay, so my calendar is closed until January. However, I do have a wait list open. So if someone is vibing and feeling like, this is an experience that they need to be a part of to really clarify their brand, they can find that on our website. It is thiswaytofabulous.com. And if you're looking for inspiration and ideas of what this looks like, my Instagram is absolutely the best place, where I have spent years curating the content and the vibe and the inspiration. Just because I'm not actively posting on my Instagram currently, that is absolutely one of the best resources to kind of, just kind of like get a feel for it. Feel free to follow me if you'd love to know what a hot mess behind the scenes looks like, because I am always on stories still. I just am not focusing on like the strategic posting side of things. So Instagram is definitely the best place to kind of like follow me along for the journey, and my email is always open. I love like having the conversations, and just kind of helping people get moving, right? It doesn't matter what direction you're moving. You could be moving backwards. Sometimes you have to move backward first, right? You have to back out of a parking spot in order to get out of the parking lot, right?
Love all of your analogies. Yes. The pill one, yes.
I'm oddly like making these up on the fly, but yeah, I love just getting people in motion, whether it's, convincing them that they need to take 2 steps back to take 10 steps forward, whatever it is. I love that. I love hearing the stories, and I love just making an impact.
Love it. Love it. Well, Jessi, this has been absolutely amazing. All of her links that she just stated will be in the show notes, so you can go ahead and grab those there. And yeah, girly, it's been such a great time. Thank you for coming on the show, and we'll talk soon. Bye for now.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining me today on Mindset Mastery Podcast. I hope today's conversation inspired you to embrace your own journey of balancing motherhood and entrepreneurship. Remember, it's all about mastering your mindset to create a life of success and fulfillment in both areas. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share it with a friend, and leave a review. Your support helps us reach more incredible moms just like you. Until next time, keep showing up, keep growing, and mastering your mindset.